Xbox had a lot to talk about in April. Let's take a look back. Yes, April has somehow come and gone. April showers will hopefully bring May flowers, although it is still raining, so maybe this is a little bit of an April hangover here at my particular location. But there was a lot to talk about in April, and as I have mentioned time and time again, Microsoft, or more explicitly Xbox, has done a really good job of putting up big announcements on a pretty regular basis. And so let's just take a look back at some of the biggest announcements, 6 of them to be precise, that were, that happened in April, and I think are worth revisiting as we wrap up the month. So coming in at number 6 is that Microsoft unlocks online multiplayer for free for games on Xbox, or free-to-play games on Xbox. Now, this was a promise that Microsoft made, and it's officially out and available to everybody. If you're not familiar with what this is, it's free-to-play games are now free to play on Xbox. So you can download the Fortnites, if you will, and then you can play it online without needing Xbox Live Gold. Now, there's been a little bit more information about this coming out actually this week, because there's a really big court case going on right now between Apple and Epic related to the App Store, and a lot of internal conversations are making their way public through court documentation. And so they present the evidence, and well, we can all see that evidence. And so there's actually a lot of emails between Tim Sweeney and Phil Spencer. And so what we can see in these emails is actually Tim Sweeney pressuring Microsoft, or asking, whatever you want to call it, saying, hey, make more online games and content free, and trying to line it up with Fortnite. And obviously Xbox eventually did get there, but they really wanted some of this to happen all the way back and as early potentially as like 2018. So this narrative, or this road to get the free-to-play games online, has been in the works for a while, and it's very clear that Microsoft did get some outside pressure from, in this case, Epic, to make that happen. Either way, it is now out and available, and you can go do that if you do not have Xbox Live Gold. Coming in at number 5, MLB The Show 21 is coming to Xbox Game Pass on day 1. This is a big deal for multiple reasons. One, this was not a title that was even on Xbox in previous generations, and the fact that it is landing on X, where it's available now, I should say, it is available on Xbox and on Game Pass, and it's made by PlayStation Studios, was sort of like a trifecta of like bombshell announcements for this title coming to Xbox. It's now probably the premier baseball game on the platform, and it's available now, and you can go download and play that. Microsoft, coming in at number 4, I should say, Microsoft brings cloud gaming to iOS and PC in beta. Hopefully, if you applied for the beta, you're now in. Microsoft has been pretty slow to roll out these invites, but at least the initial wave has gone out, and then a couple more waves of Microsoft sending out invites to allow people to play cloud gaming on their iOS and PC. So this is a big deal obviously for multiple reasons. You can even play it in your car, as I have done on this channel. So if you really want to understand like what it's like to play on iOS or on the browser or in your car, there's videos on this channel, and pretty soon I will have the proper review up of this guy, which makes playing cloud gaming on the iPhone actually quite exceptional. So be on the lookout for a future upcoming video. Coming in at number 3, backwards compatible games coming to Xbox Cloud Gaming. This is building on that narrative of now available on iOS and now available on the PC, and now Xbox Cloud Gaming also featuring that impressive back catalog. Microsoft has done a lot of actually good work with the backwards compatibility with this generation. We actually just saw this week that Microsoft added FPS boost to a ton of different titles. So another big win for just Microsoft in general across their cloud gaming platform, which they are investing a lot of energy into to really try to make that the premier place to play content when you're streaming. Obviously, they're going up against the likes of Stadia and Luna, and I'm sure that there will be other competitors coming online here in the near future, but Microsoft is trying really hard to be just the front runner in only like availability across different platforms, availability of just tons of different titles, and then also trying to tie into that Game Pass subscription, really offering an entire suite or ecosystem, if you will, of software and services for the Xbox mobile gamer, and that is just the next evolution in that. The other big, well, I should say at number 2, Microsoft eases fees for PC game developers. So this is just such a monumental deal, because this is such a lot of the things I announced, or we talked about here, were like things that are happening today, things that have already happened, things that are making Xbox better today. This announcement is interwoven into features and functionality that are more forward-looking. So what Microsoft announced is that they are reducing their game fee cut on the Microsoft Store for PC games. So it used to be 30% cut. Now they're dropping it down to 12%, which means that developers who sell their game directly through the Microsoft Store are going to make $88 or 88 cents for every dollar rather than 70 cents. And that really adds up when you start thinking about scale. And it's a good move on Microsoft's part as they try to court more PC games directly to their store. Now, there's some competing narratives inside of all this as well, because Microsoft continues to sell its own games on Steam. Now, I don't think Microsoft is going to stop doing that. At least it does. I think they'd be kind of crazy, because as we have seen time and time again, when Microsoft does put their titles into Steam, it usually pops up to the top 10, at least for a little bit, and they're getting some extra revenue really, really quickly and easily. So it's hard to see that they would do that, but at the same time, they're really trying to get more games into their own store. And so how are they going to do that? Well, by lowering that cost is one way to do that. The other interesting thing too is some of the policy changes that we know are coming down the road, which we believe are related to Sun Valley, which would allow developers, specifically PC game developers in this instance, to put their own CDN into the Microsoft Store, meaning that they control the update experience and they control everything. And in that particular model, from what we understand right now, developers may not actually pay anything to Microsoft. We will see how that all changes out over the next couple weeks. I think we might learn more at Build about how Microsoft is going to be positioning and changing things in the store, because if they're going to be doing those types of significant infrastructure changes to the Microsoft Store, Build is the place to announce that. The reason being is that, well, first off, we know this isn't taking place, the percentage cut isn't taking place until sometime, I think August 1st, if I remember correctly. It's going to take developers time, if they're actually going to go down this route, to actually sort of move their apps over and get ready for that type of an update. It would also allow, remember, like, just pretty much any type of app. There's also that question too about how Microsoft is going to make sure that's a secure process. That's a different conversation. But Build, which is on the 27th of this month, it's at the end of the month, last week of the month of May. We should hopefully learn more about those Build Store policy updates. If we don't, then maybe we learn about it sometime in the summer. But given that the lead time developers need to make this sort of transition possible, I'm hoping that we hear about it sooner rather than later. Otherwise, well, we'll see what happens. And then the number one self-fulfilling prophecy, and I am definitely putting myself on my own platform for this one. Microsoft to sell an Xbox mini fridge after Twitter victory. If you remember, Twitter or Xbox was going up against Skittles in a Twitter war, and it was neck and neck. I think it actually ended like 50-50, and they only won, or Xbox only won by a couple thousand votes out of hundreds of thousands of people who voted. And during that, I tweeted to Aaron Greenberg, hey, you guys should offer a mini fridge if you guys win the Twitter poll. And they did winning, and Aaron confirmed that it was my tweet that got that started. And so we can all get an Xbox mini fridge, although we don't know when. I believe it will be sometime later this year, but we will have to wait and see. So there you go, folks. April was a busy month. May is already starting to kick off here, pretty spicy. We've already seen some Sony announcements. We've already seen some this court case, I think, is going to play a lot into some of the bigger headlines this month. So, as always, keep it subscribed here, because the only BS on this channel is me.